Hi everybody, it's Margaret here with Sixtyandme. Thank you so much for being here today. I wanted to talk to you today about something which is really quite magical. It's a topic that was raised by one of our bloggers, Heidi Smith, and it was one of those articles that I read and I reread, and I saw it in so many different levels, and I want to share it with you. And it's how to experience the magic of noticing things. Now, we all have these routines that we've gone through, that we've established in our lives, things that we do, just as a matter of course. We have our rhythms, and we have a selective vision of what we see, what we like. We choose the things that are beautiful to us, and we follow those kinds of journeys. But there are things that that Heidi talks about, which are noticing the sort of the magic of the mundane. And I love that expression where we're just looking at things that are simple things and just noticing them. And in that act of noticing and paying attention and seeing how things might be repeating themselves or connecting themselves, we can discover so much about ourselves. And I think as we get older and we actually start, examining our lives, and we start looking at the things that sort of have been important to us, and how we've, we, as you say, we choose the colors that we like, the fashion that we like, the style, the makeup, we choose the friends and the people in our lives. And we can do that more as we get a little bit older. We actually, start to have time to notice the tiny things. And then those tiny things, it's like nature. When I go out into nature and see Mother Nature, coming back to life after a cold winter, I just notice the tiny buds and the tiny seeds on the dandelion flower leaves. And it's just like really powerful to me sometimes how the very simple things have the most abundance in meaning and purpose. Now, Heidi talks about, like right now, I just crossed my legs. How we have certain body gestures that we do all the time. Like she noticed, there was one woman she talked about who always had her hands clenched, and she never noticed that. She never noticed that when she was nervous or worried or concerned about something, she would just clench her fists really, really tight. And it wasn't until she realized that and noticed that particular behavior that, she was learning about herself, to connect it with something that was important. Our body language is one of the greatest things that we can notice. And I think that people, if you notice your own gestures and movements, you'll see that there's a rhythm to it, and you can learn from those. So Heidi reminds us to listen to the voice within. This is and her article is actually very interesting. I don't quite know her background, but I think she must have a spiritual background, because she talks about, some things that are a little bit on the edge, which I think are kind of interesting, about how we are, maybe even programmed, but we are meant to meet certain people in our lives. And they are people that will guide us and help us and support us through our life. Now, this has happened to me a couple of times. In fact, my ex-husband actually lived a few streets over from me at one point before I actually met him. And it's like you had to bump into each other somewhere. And I did actually meet him on a train, which wasn't even related to where we lived, but we lived very close. And, I'm sure you all probably have got stories like that, like a person that you went to high school with, who you then later bumped into, or some coincidence happened much, much later, that you're meant to know these people and have them woven into your life. Because unless you, and I guess as Heidi is saying, unless you actually notice them, pay attention, then you won't see the connection. It's really, really powerful. So she gives an example of her own life where she had a business. She started a business, and she had a product, and she thought she could do it, and she started this business, and it failed. But she said she didn't notice all the way along the signs that were telling her that were, she just had paid attention to the mundane, things that were going on around her. She would have actually been able to, calm her emotion to the point where she was able to let it go. And in that case, she was. Now, Heidi, I think, is an interior designer, so she talks a lot about space in your home. And I think this is one of the powerful points of this article. I'll give you the link to it so you can take a look at it, because she says that, this is where doing things in the home, the small things, noticing where things are placed, how they're placed, in what combination, in what alignment, that somehow will tell you so much about yourself. And in doing that, you'll be able to start seeing significance in the connections. And, she mentions, of course, our home should be that place that totally reflect us. But I think sometimes we lose, connection with that little being that sees the spiritual, sees the connection in things around us, the simple things. So it's all in the details. I was going to show you something if I can find it here. It's a little card. I bought some cards the other day. I was actually in a shop where they sell cards, and I found these beautiful cards. Can you see them? And they were lovely, and I was drawn to them for some reason, and I thought that would make a very pretty design. But then I actually started watching for the mundane and looking for the simple. And just as I was going out the door, I found this one. Can you see this? It's just the most beautiful card. And that was what, I chose this one over those other two because I was noticing something about it, and it was partly the color, but it was also the images of the seeds on the flower that were just abundant, and I just was drawn to that. And I realized that this is the color palette that I love, and it was just again noticing the simple things and putting that into my home environment. And I think that's really, really important. I just lost my notes here because I hid them under cards. So don't let your dreams and aspirations fade. Your personality, your dreams, your hopes are all hidden in the world around you. It's really interesting. I used to study with Deepak Chopra, and I remember him saying once that things have karmic significance if they happen 3 times. So if you first of all notice, it can even be a name. It can be something really simple, and then you hear it again a second time, or you see it again to remind you of that thing that came into your mind. That's interesting. But then if it happens a 3rd time, he always said, pay attention to that, because there's some karmic significance, he called it, to that, that connection, that maybe mundane, simple name. You hear the name 3 times, and then it's just like, I'm going to meet somebody with that name. Or you can make that an intention, of course. But, and of course, Heidi's just reminding us that our homes should give us that space, that sense of space that softens the edges so that we notice those things, that we don't actually turn them away. She said that one example was grandchildren, that they can be the greatest gift to you in terms of their innocence and their acceptance and their beauty in the world. And she said she was noticing, and I just noticed something about my grandson the other day too, which I'll share. But she said that her little granddaughter, she was singing a song for him, and her little grandson touched her lips. And she said she looked at him, and it was like the look in his eyes was just like wonder. And she said she burst into tears because it was just so, so beautiful. And then, of course, that connection of something very mundane, a little child touching your mouth as you're singing, made her realize how much she loved her family, how much she loved her life, how much she just wanted to be part of their world. And just that simple noticing deepened her definition, of who she was. And I think that is honestly one of the greatest gifts as we get older, is that we're able to start eliminating the things that don't resonate with us and tuning in with the things that do. And these small moments, these little moments can be so, so powerful. And I hope that you look for them and find them too. Tell us about some of the moments, these mundane moments, the magic of mundane moments. I think that's a great title for a book. But it's the mundane that you've noticed, that have empowered you, that have made you feel that you're in the right place, that your home is reflecting all those things, and that you are in a safe and sound location. Maybe it's quiet things that you never noticed before. Maybe go for a walk today and just have a little round and just stop what you're doing right now. Look around you and see if there's anything that makes you feel a synchronicity with something. Where did you find that thing? How did you choose it? Why was it special to you? What special moments in your life, like the one she described with her grandson? Mine was actually watching the eyes of my grandson. He always talks to me, and I'm usually looking away. And then I looked at him as he was talking, and his little eyes were completely fixated. And it was like, my gosh, I need to be looking at you, because that's where we connect. We connect with our eyes. And it was like, I never really noticed that. And I noticed it actually as I was talking to other people that day, that we tend to look away from each other when we're talking. And I'm looking at you all right now because I know where you are in my camera. But it's very hard when you're talking, especially about things that are a little sensitive or emotional, to actually look in the eyes. So that's for me, that was my realization. But anyway, the magic of noticing is the message here, and to marvel in the mundane. I love that. Hope you all have a fabulous day. Share your story with us about mundane, beautiful things that you've noticed that have made you more sensitive to what's important in your life. Take really good care, everybody, and with you always, just stay safe and well, and we will talk again very soon. Bye for now.